Good morning and welcome to Entrepreneurs Hour, right here on WRFR 93.3 FM. Every week on Entrepreneurs Hour, we dive into stories of triumphs, challenges, and lessons learned, highlighting how local organizations and individuals are working together to foster a thriving business ecosystem right here in Knox County and beyond. Whether you're starting a business, growing one, or supporting the local entrepreneurial community, this show is exactly for you. Hi, everyone. My name is Chris Austin. I'm your host and president of Ardea, proud sponsor of this show. Ardea is located in Rockport, and we help small businesses and nonprofits with bookkeeping, large-scale accounting, payroll, payment solutions, and tax services. I'm also the president of the Rock Coast Entrepreneurs and a member of the NSBA Leadership Council, representing Maine small business community on a local, state, and national level. I created the show to help entrepreneurs navigate the complexities of running a small business by providing a platform where entrepreneurs can share their journeys and highlight some amazing partners in our region, showcasing the impactful ways they're helping small businesses and entrepreneurs succeed. Let's learn, inspire, and support one another as we continue to build a stronger small business community together. Now, let's get started with today's show. Well, good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to Entrepreneurs Hour, everyone. I am excited to bring back the first ever guest that we had on the show. We actually had a couple of guinea pigs, and that was our friends at the Rock Coast Entrepreneurs. This is my vice president, our vice president of the Rock Coast Entrepreneurs, but I had to have Nicole Larrabee back on, and we'll have Marcy Lambert on, and probably in another month or so she'll be coming back on. But more importantly, I would just say is that we're really excited to bring Nicole back today because there's a lot more to discuss about your journey, and I think it's so important for us all to be able to do so. And thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Thank you very much for viewing us live on Facebook, streaming us, and then in the future, maybe a couple of hours, you'll find us on YouTube. So we're going to jump right in, and I'll just say is that one of the biggest pleasures of being a Rock Coast entrepreneur is meeting people such as yourself. And Nicole, we've known each other for quite a few years. I knew you in your previous life, and which we both are recovering bankers,
yes.
And that is a true statement. But it's great to be able to see how people transition from, having the safety net of a paycheck, right?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, as long as we imagine, right? To, okay, it's on your shoulders, and if you don't do it well, that paycheck is not coming, and that is a scary, scary jump. And I would just say for all of our viewers is that, and listeners, is that we are here to really be able to share people's their journeys, to help you learn of basically how they got to where they are today, some lessons learned throughout the journey, have some laughs. I'm sure there's been tears as well.
Many.
Many, sometimes within the last 24 hours.
Yeah,
But anyway, we're going to jump right in and just, I'll introduce. She's a business leader, a community advocate, a powerhouse behind Superior Restoration Services in Camden, from cleaning up chaos, literally, to helping restore peace in people's lives. Please welcome Nicole Larrabee. Yay! All right. Nicole also is the vice president of the Rock Coast Entrepreneurs, and we wouldn't be here today without that organization. Not our business, but on the radio. This is part of our organization, but. First segment that we're going to be talking today about, I'm really talking about, is you had a really strong career, and so what we want to do is really trace back into your career path and explore what led you to buy SRS. And going back, let's just go right from the beginning. You had a strong career in banking and economic development.
Yes.
So you had the pleasure of working for a public company, but
Yeah.
also in a municipality, which must be a joy.
Much different.
It is absolutely different. That's right. So what inspired you to say, you know what, it's time to go and change gears and take on the world of restoration?
That is a great question. So I grew up in a small business family. So my dad was a chemist and he was a problem solver. And when he and my mom first got married, he would wear the white t-shirts under his work shirts and they would get stained with iron. So they would be stained orange. And so he's like, if I'm having this problem, somebody else is too. So he started a water treatment business. And so literally from the age of 3, and I think it was because I had small hands at that time, I would help him put together water softeners in our basement. And so I'd go on service calls with him. I would work at the shop with him, answer phones. I mean, that was our life, was the business. Once he had transitioned from working, a full-time lab manager position to, oh my goodness, we're going to make a go of this. And so it was sort of all hands on deck. And when I say it's in my blood, I feel like it really is.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
I just thought that this was a really great business model, and you're like, oh, I'm going to jump on this opportunity. It's for sale.
Which was.
Yes, which was great, but I didn't know that part of it. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So what was that transition like? Again, we talked about it, right? That guaranteed paycheck.
Benefits. Mileage reimbursement.
All those wonderful things of being employed.
A fixed schedule.
Yes, a fixed schedule. Leaving it behind you, right?
Yes.
I mean, these are the sacrifices that people make when they make that step over. Yeah. So I would love to hear, and the listeners would probably hear, how was that transition for you?
So there was a moment in time, and so I had. My dad sold the business when I was 19. There was no way I would have been ready to take over that business. Had I been older, that would have been the business to take over. But so I was working in banking, and I was working on the cash management side. So I had a lot of business customers, and I had spoken with one, and he mentioned retirement. Well, probably in about a year and a half or so, I'm gonna retire. I'll sell. Okay. So I never had the confidence to do it. And my husband is self-employed. So benefits, steady paycheck. Like we had one, so if he didn't get paid from a job, we were okay. But, so it was kind of just gnawing on me. And I finally was just thinking, let's poo or get off the pot here. No pun intended for the work I do, but so I called him on a Friday afternoon and I said, hey, it's been about a year and a half and I was just curious about if you were still planning on selling. And he said, oh, you missed me by a month. He goes, I'm about to sign my last document, making it final. He said, we just kind of got talking about it, and he was upset that he had kind of missed it because I think he wanted to turn it over to somebody local. Anyway, so that weekend, it ate at me, and I was so disgusted with myself. Like, how could you not grab that opportunity when it came? And so I talked to my husband about it, who's very supportive. He's like, you got to do this. Mm-hmm. So we started looking, and I was looking online for businesses for sale, and there was one, and of course, so I Googled it. It wasn't listed about, who it was. I Googled it, and it was Superior. And it fit. It checked all the boxes. It was not a company that was dependent on disposable income. It wasn't just residential or just commercial. There was many revenue streams. So it was a family business. There was one owner since 1968. So there was a lot of really great qualities about it. And so I just pulled the trigger.
So.
Yeah.
Let's rewind the tape and go back to the first couple of weeks. Like what shocked you and what inspired you? That because I'm sure when you were first digging right in, you're like all excited.
Yes.
And then there's like it settles in.
Yeah.
And then so can you talk a little bit about how those first couple of weeks went?
After we bought it?
Yeah.
So terrifying. And had I not gotten a paycheck protection it did qualify for the PPP loan. I don't think I would have.
So this happened during COVID.
It did, yeah. It was so the process started in October of 2020, and we closed in March of 21. So it was still very much in the thick of it.
Yeah.
And then I thought, okay, this is a no-brainer, a cleaning company in the middle of a pandemic, fantastic. But that first couple of weeks, the previous owner had helped covered my payroll while I had done some jobs and was getting cash in, and that it was terrifying. And I guess it just still didn't really hit me because you're on adrenaline.
Yeah.
But then when it gets to that point where you're like, I don't have money in the checking account for payroll next week.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now what? You know, and so automatically you go into hyper focus, and I am so thankful. Thank God no employee has ever missed a payroll. That is one of the things I am so proud of. Me and my husband, however, we may have been delayed on getting paid, but that was a big deal for me too, because, and I was thinking about this. These people are relying on you for jobs, their paycheck. They have families, they have responsibilities, and so that's a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's that adrenaline that you're talking about. It's a natural thing, right? That adrenaline sometimes can be excitement. So was there any because you could have said, you know what, it's time, we got to get out of this. Like panic and run, fight or flight, right? So you decided to fight. So there must have been something that excited you, like twinkle of like, this is going to be something awesome. When did that happen, and what was it?
I think it was just making it my own, and I think a lot of entrepreneurs, maybe not, I don't know, but I know for me it was, I always kind of joke I'm the consummate rule follower. So I always just assume that like you have to do everything the previous owner did. And that took a little while to say, no, I don't. If I don't like this revenue stream, I'm going to change it. I'm going to get rid of it, or I'm going to add something. And just to be able to make those changes was pretty empowering, and say, if I fail, it's on me, and that's got to be okay. But it's hard when you're a perfectionist to feel like you've failed at something. So I guess maybe I'm just stubborn, bullheaded, maybe, I don't know.
So this, you mentioned, your father's business, and being an entrepreneur, right? And there's a little bit of gap in time between that time and you starting your business. When did it start snapping, like that DNA, right? That entrepreneurial DNA in you, like that fire. Was there a part that started to come back from maybe things that you observed from your father that you may have implemented into your business model?
So, good question. I would say, so he died shortly after he sold the business. So it was 9 months that the new company had him as kind of a consultant. And so, like, that memory was always just kind of in my head.
Yeah.
But I was a college student at the time, so it didn't, I would say that feeling went dormant.
Okay.
I had a first stint in banking. I don't know if I told you that too. I lived in Bath for a number of years, and I still don't know what I want to be when I grow up. So like, I should probably have led with that. But when I was an athletic trainer at Hyde School, I realized pretty quickly on, like, I don't like this at all. Like, I am not good with sweaty feet and stinky kids and dislocated joints. It didn't do it for me. So I was like, well, banking's much safer. Well,
that's right. I forgot. Yeah. You went to Mass. You went to college in Massachusetts for something completely different, which is, I mean, that happens, right? That's probably happens more than often than not.
Yeah.
So awesome.
And I think where it did start to transition when I went to a few years gap in there, but I started working for the city of Brewer after I graduated with my MBA, and we were working with small businesses, and I remember thinking, oh, that would be cool to be on the other side of the table, like you're putting businesses in touch with other people, and you're doing a critical role from the municipal perspective, because every community needs to have a good business community. But oh man, I just want to be on the other side of the table.
Yeah.
And so I guess that's sort of probably the catalyst, but it
Sure.
still wasn't the right time.
So often not. So we both come from the banking background, right?
Yes.
And obviously you have that municipality. So those previous lives, I say that we're building our own intellectual property, right?
Yes.
Those are personal relationships,
Yes.
and in those personal relationships, sometimes you'll bring them back.
Yes.
So how was that? Did that happen for you? Was there part of that history that you had before, and you're able to bring those people or those ideas and concepts, and do they help influence your business?
I think it does, and I can't overstate the importance of fostering those relationships, because you might not need somebody right now, but take the time
Yeah.
to get to know somebody, to cultivate that relationship. And I'm trying to think of a specific example, but it has come back where I've had to pick up the phone. Do you remember me? Because I have a question for you. Because they happen to be, somewhere in my past 5 years ago, but now I need their expertise. And okay, she didn't suck, so I'm going to return her phone call.
Yeah, that's so awesome. I mean, similar thing happened to me when I was, down on Booth Bay working for a bank.
Yep.
Built some phenomenal relationships, lifelong friendships and connections. And when I started my business, one of my old clients said, "What do you think about coming together?"
Nice.
And they purchased my business, and here we are today.
Exactly.
And it was just you just hit it right on the head. That was perfect.
You
Awesome.
never know. I guess
just never know.
You never know.
No.
And I think it's easy to put people in a box, or maybe, well, I don't need that. But you never know.
All right, so we're going to go into the next segment, which is what I call the down and dirty. All right, and this is
Again, no
the
pun
work
intended.
that no one talks about. All right, so we're going to dive into the grit, the reality, and the humanity behind SRS's special services. All right, so when we meet in the Rock Coast Entrepreneurs, your elevator speeches and your updates are always awesome, and we always look forward. It's like popcorn. We're just ready to hear
The next growth.
the wonderful stories that you share, which is awesome. But first, let's talk about, you've mentioned you love talking about poop cleanup side, right? All right. And we even try to create some taglines for you in the past,
Yes.
like we clean up. But why is that part of work important to you? Why do you do it?
I have to say, the funny thing is that people will say, "Oh, you must have worked for Dave, the previous owner," and I'm like, "Nope." Well, you must have some restoration background, like you've worked at some of the other. Nope. I was in banking. I was in municipal government. No, it just seemed like a good idea at the time. But as I get into it, and we have so many great customers. I can't even tell you. We see them at a particularly stressful point, whether it's literally they just lost a loved one, half of their ceiling is on the floor, half of their septic tank is on the floor. And we're able just to come in and say, okay, not the greatest, not the worst we've seen, let's just get it done. And I think in a lot of those situations, somebody just coming in and saying, somebody else is going to take care of this. I'm going to go upstairs and cry or eat some chocolate, and you guys let me know when you need something. And so just being able to go into somebody's space and just say, we'll take care of it. And I think this is hilarious too. I was thinking about this the other night. My roommates, anybody who has ever lived with me, my parents' siblings would say, for you to own a cleaning company, wouldn't have ever believed it because you were a slob. So I don't know. I guess I came full circle, but there's something really rewarding about taking a space that looks like an absolute bomb went off, and then you leave and it's perfect and it's clean, and it's like,
because that was my next question for you. Is that, these are really, really tough jobs, and we'll get into some of those
Yeah.
tough jobs that you're now taking on. I mean, they got to be mentally traumatizing sometimes,
Yes.
right? And physically exhausting. So, what does it take to build up that mental strength? Obviously, the work itself will create the physical strength, but the
Yeah.
mental strength, because you've seen some stuff.
Yeah. And I think it's important to say, we don't judge. Like, people live very differently, and I don't care. I really don't. If you don't want to clean your house, I don't care. We'll do it. So I think it's important first and foremost to have that mentality, like, this is your home. Like, this is your happy place. This should be, where you go to land at the end of the day. And so we don't judge. Like I said, I don't care. And I think it just takes the calm, you have to focus on that. Like, put yourself in the customer's shoes right now, because they're freaking out. They may not have insurance coverage, and so they're going to have to pay for this out of pocket. And so, there's a lot of things that go along with it, but I just try to be empathetic and understanding, recognizing at the end of the day, what you do is what you do. We have a job to do. We're going to clean your house, and we're going to do it really well. So.
No, I mean, you have a great business. You have a lot of work, and you cannot do this on your own.
No.
So you have to hire a team.
Yes.
So, like, when you break the ice and say, all right, so this is the stuff that you're going to see, and like, how do you prepare them mentally, and to set the proper expectations? Because I'm sure this could be a job that, and I'm sure you've had people that have said, yeah, I could do this, and they get into it and they're gone.
Exactly.
So what's part of that, like, that process for you, hiring, training, and mentally preparing your employees?
It's hard because, like you said, people are like, oh, I'm in great shape. I can do this. Smells don't bother me. Whatever, not a big deal. And then it's like, when you first step into a floor covered in poop, like,
Gross.
Yeah. And that is something, well, I've cleaned up dog poop before, and the kids thrown up, and again, but when you're in it and you're surrounded by it and it's all you're smelling, it's a little different. And it's not for everybody. And I try to be very upfront and just say, look, there's no hard feelings. This is not for everybody. And whenever I've worked in the field, I'm exhausted at the end of the day. And so I try to tell people, like, this is a very physical job. And then some love it.
Much respect, because I'll tell you, like, my wife and I joke about this. My feet are heat-seeking poop and pee. All right,
no.
It's just, and unfortunately, in the last 2 years, we have trained. Now we're on number 4 puppy.
Oh, jeez.
On our 4th puppy,
Oh.
and so it's just, I gag every single time. I just, much respect, because I don't know how you all do it. It's just, wow. And I'm so glad that I don't work for you, because I would find it. I would find it and I would wear it. And I just, oh my word, that's a nightmare. All right. So are there certain specialty cleanups you're expanding into now? And I know that I know about this, but I want the listeners and our viewers to be able to hear about, because when you took over the business, what did the business do, and what have you evolved to now?
So when we first took over, they had done plowing and sanding. They did a lot of carpet cleaning, a lot of the same things that we do now. Cleaning ducts, the duct work in your house for your hot air systems. And what we were finding sort of over the years is this particular line of business is not profitable, or this particular line of business, I can't find somebody to do it the way it should be done.
Yeah.
This line of business is 80% of my headaches, and it makes no money. Why are we doing it? And so I think that has been a shift too, and that's, I've heard some people, they're like, well, what do you do now? And so I understand their frustration, because, we don't do everything that the previous company did, but but it didn't make sense to keep going. I'm not going to invest $100,000 in a revenue line that doesn't make any money.
And it sounds like the old business model is the main story, the main hustle, right? Is just finding a niche and filling in the gaps of time and just filling a void and work all the time.
Right. And so, I took a step back and said, we can't do that. We're not good at.
It's not sustainable.
It's not sustainable, and we're not good at X and Y. We kill A, B, C, D, and E. Let's focus on that.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a hard pill to swallow too, because you can't be everything to everybody. And I've had to really just come to that and say, I'm sorry, I can't clean your carpet. I'm sorry. Yeah. I've got 2 names for you that can do a great job, but it's not us anymore.
So now you've transitioned, and so what services have you recently added that has been intriguing many of us?
It is. It's so we added trauma, crime scene, unattended death, suicide cleanup.
Our murder podcast listeners are just turned up the volume.
You know, and I got to tell you, that's where I first heard it was on a podcast about a crime scene cleaner, criminal was. And
down in Florida, right?
Where was she? I think she was.
Yeah.
But then there was another lady on Instagram that I follow too. Anyway, but that piece always it intrigued me, and so I had reached out again to the previous owner, and he said, you know what, we didn't do it because it's too hard. It's too hard on the people to do it, and I respect that. Yeah. I don't force anybody to do it. There's 2 people in the company, myself included, that do it, that go in and do the initial, clean. So we get everything out, and then we go back when all of the debris and all of the remnants are taken care of, and so it's just a cleaning job at that point. But
yeah. So do you have to go in and assess it first?
Yes, yeah, for sure. Because you could. It depends. It all depends on what you need for equipment and what you need for. Sometimes you should be there same day just because it's a traumatic event, and so I want to be able to see, if it's something that's so large and we can't do it, then I want to be very upfront and very quick with people to let them know that. It is challenging. Like I said, I don't force employees to do it because it does take a toll on you. It's hard. It's really hard not to put yourself in that family, and try to understand. Well, geez, why? You go back and forth, and it's like at the end of the day, though, it's a cleaning job. I have a job to do. I want to take care of these people and make their space clean and restored again. And so that's what I'm here to do. And so you kind of have to turn it off a little bit.
Yeah. So now you're bringing on this segment, and it is a niche. Business, right? Yep. So we talk about at the Rock Coast Entrepreneurs, we talk about collaboration, also known as networking. Yes. But so you have to collaborate. So that is a totally different marketing plan to be able to build those collaboration partners. So, how did you take that approach? This is a brand new business, and this is a totally different partners that you're looking to work with. So, how was that transition for you?
And to me, it's been more of a one-on-one. It's not like you're going to take an ad out in the paper or put a Facebook post about this stuff. Because let's be real, nobody wants to talk about it.
Yeah, and what kind of picture are you going to put with that? Yeah,
exactly.
That ad,
Exactly. Yeah. So there was actually a lady down in Florida who she's got a franchise, and she had a huge Instagram following. And it's gross. If you look at this Instagram page, it's disgusting, but people are fascinated by it. Let's be real. And so I was always thinking that would be awesome. But then I'm like, I don't like that. I don't need to do that because 1, our community is too small.
Yeah.
People are gonna. Well, I recognize that guy's hardwood floors, whatever. It's. So we've got to do it a little differently. And so it's one-on-one conversations with PD, fire department, funeral homes, ambulance services, and hats off to all of those guys because that work couldn't do. I can come in and I'll clean anything up, but
Yeah, and usually those funeral homes, they're sweet people like Hutch right here locally, just sweet people, and what they do for their customers and their families, it's incredible, and it's so good to hear that they also collaborate, and it's just not a fun thing to even talk about, but it's a necessary business.
It is,
and I commend you on putting yourself out there, because that is just something that's pretty awesome.
And it's one of those things that, and I had thought about this too. A family member should not have to do this. A friend of the family should not have to do this. So call us, like, we'll do it.
Yeah.
So you do what you need to do, and we'll do here.
Yeah. So I'm gonna transition from a little darkness here.
Okay.
All right. And I just want to, and this is what I call the heart segment for you. Okay. And, I would say that, leading with heart is very important to you, and it's definitely, it shows, and you definitely, you embrace that. So, I think it's really important for us to talk about leadership styles. And, I would say that, I think it's really important for us to talk about some of those things today, to understand leadership style, values, and community impact. So you lead a lot with your heart. We all see that. How does that show up in that day-to-day operation at SRS?
I gotta tell you, I don't always think I do the greatest job in this.
Yeah, but we're the biggest critic of ourselves.
I know, and it's painful. I have always been a believer in, if I'm not willing to do it, I'm not going to ask you to do it. I'm not going to ask you to do it. You to do it.
Yeah.
But so, and I probably take on too much for that reason, because I want to do it. I want to be hands-on, but at the same time, we've had this conversation in the Rock Coast Entrepreneurs. You can't lead your business if you're working in the business all the time, and somebody's going to be driving the ship.
Yeah.
And that's hard to do at times.
It's a delicate balance, right?
It is, and I haven't found it yet, because I was just talking to my husband about this too. When you're in the office, you've got to get that desk work. You've got to do billing. You've got to do all this little nitty gritty, balance of statements, whatever. But then you also need to be out generating business, and that's one thing that the previous owner was really great at. Everybody knew him, and that's not necessarily my comfort zone. I'm not always comfortable, like, oh, this is how great we are. I'm not good at that. I need to be better. But so I appreciate opportunities like this to come on and toot my own horn a little bit. But yeah.
And I'll just say, Nicole, I think that it is a delicate
Yes.
delicate process, because often we've seen it where we'll see somebody just take on just the office, and then they hire someone for just the office, and next thing you know, they're from 1,000 feet away managing their business, and they're letting their team manage and run their company, and that often will create that disconnect. So it's so important to be involved in the daily operations, lead your company, but also have that proper life-work balance, right? That's what we've always talked about. So you've talked about how sometimes it can be very chaotic. You have a lot of stuff that's coming in, a lot of business coming in. So how do you keep the team from stressing out to the point where they we talked about that fight or flight, like, I can't handle all this work. And so how do you balance the workload, the company culture, and creating this place where people want to work?
And I think that has always been, my philosophy is always, I take my job very seriously. I do not take myself seriously, as evidenced by the poop emoji hat.
Yes.
Okay. So, yeah. So I think just knowing that the environment that we work in, it's chaotic enough. So if somebody's high strung, if somebody's like really dramatic, I don't want you, just because we have enough to do.
Right.
And so, we've had people in the past like, there's no way we can get this done in the time that, and it's like, but we're not asking you to work 15-hour days. Like, all I expect is a good day's work for a good day's wage.
Yeah.
And if you don't finish, you don't finish. Like, I'm not gonna yell and scream. And like you, I'm sure you've worked for some pretty crazy people, and I feel like I have taken everything that I have ever worked for, every boss I've had, and right, wrong, or indifferent, I've made it mine. I've had bosses that...
Those influences, good or bad, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And so
important.
If family comes first. If you're not taking care of your family, then you're not taking care of my job. So take care of what you need to take care of.
Yeah.
I'll go out and...
Yeah.
So...
Setting the right expectations
exactly.
is what you're saying, is that you're not going to expect them to do something that you wouldn't do yourself.
Exactly.
And that is so important, and what a great lesson for entrepreneurs when they start going out there and bringing on people is the heat, the responsibility, the pressure is on the business,
right.
not on the employee.
Right. Exactly.
You have the right expectations, come to work. It's a great company culture.
Right.
I think that that is some fantastic things.
And we've walked away from jobs that I'm like, this is a train wreck from a mile away, and I'm not going to put you guys in that situation. I don't want to be in that situation, so we'll find something else.
Yeah. One of the things I want to talk about, and we've talked about in previous episodes and shows, is being involved. And I know being involved is really, really important. So this is why heart is part of this.
Yes,
so, a lot of people can just sink themselves right into their business, right?
Yes.
And just bury themselves and not have that proper life work in. And life isn't just family or the fun stuff, but it's also giving back and being involved in your community. So tell us a little bit about why that's so important and what you do for your community.
Yay! I'm going to show you my keychain here in a minute.
No, go ahead. We'll show it right to that.
All right. This is my lanyard. I hope everybody can see this. Break the silence of domestic abuse. FindingOurVoices.net. So, and I will credit the city of Brewer for this, because as part of economic development, we were involved in a lot of community things. So the chamber, any of the regional business development community events, team building stuff with the business community, any of that stuff, which really kind of, in a way, forced me to be active.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed doing it anyway. And so I've been on the board for Finding Our Voices, which is a local nonprofit started by Patricia McLean in Camden, that breaks the silence of domestic abuse, which, as you know, is rampant, not only unfortunate in our community, but statewide, nationwide, and internationally. It's a big problem. And so taking a step back from the business and my own, woe is me, I can go home to a loving husband and a loving family and 3 crackhead dogs, and that is my space. There's a lot of women out there who cannot say the same thing. And so part of what I do is fight for those people as well. Do I have time to be on the front line going to the different events around the state? No, but I can do my own part. So that stuff is really important to me. And I think you have to be, as a business owner. I feel like you do, and a community member, I feel like you have a responsibility.
Right. With no strings attached. Because I will tell you, I'm telling all listeners right now, if you join an organization to promote your business, you are not a good person, or that is a bad decision, because it's going to bite you, because people will see right through. Be your true self. Right. Be empathetic, be part of the solution if there's a problem. And it sounds like that has been very rewarding for you.
It has, and it makes you appreciate what you have. But also that, we see some of the letters coming back from women who are able to get out of these situations because of whether it's survivor support from, other women in the organization, or we've been able to give funding for a security deposit, or an emergency hotel stay to get them out of the situation. That is in and of itself it's wow. It's pretty crazy to read some of the situations that these women are facing. But
how long has the organization been around?
2019.
Okay, so it came in a really critical time because unfortunately during the pandemic,
It was even
people
worse.
were at home
Yep.
and they couldn't escape.
Stuck
Yeah.
in their prison. Yeah.
And so would you say that that the organization learned a lot during that time and
For
really,
sure.
and really helped people?
And I think it's like our business, but it evolves. You know what I mean? As you see the need. I mean, it started as a poster project. The posters around Camden that you've seen. It started with a photography exhibit, and then it just literally blew up. And so, but one thing about the organization, I feel like we've evolved where we needed to, and you have to do the same with a business.
Oh. Thank you very much. That's so important to be able to talk about, and I love sharing how important it is for people to be involved, but especially something that's so important to you, which is awesome. So we're going to go back to your business now, back to Superior Restoration Services, okay? I guess for me is that over the past couple of years, like, what has been the greatest accomplishment, do you think, that you've been able to just say, you know what, I'm so glad I did this?
I'm still married.
Good point. Because let's talk about that for a moment, right? Because our spouses are
God bless them.
Oh my word, yes. My wife, I only slept for a few hours last night, I'm pretty sure, and this morning.
Yes.
I was awake since 3 a.m. and I was hammer-jaws. And she's just waking up and she's like,
will you stop?
But she didn't. She just listened, right? And our spouses are great listeners. So that's really important to talk about, right?
It is. It is. If you do not have a strong partner, forget it. Like, and the other thing that I have found too, just being able to communicate that, and sometimes it's just, my husband's a problem solver, so he wants to fix it. And I'm like, nope, I just need you to listen. I'm going to brain dump for like 5 minutes, and then we're going to have dinner, and then we're going to stop talking about it, and keep going. But yeah, it's really, that is critical. To have a support system, not only for somebody just to listen, but somebody's like, go, Chris, you can do it. You need a cheerleader. Because for those days that you're just like, I give up.
Now, not only are you active in like the Rock Coast Entrepreneurs, this organization, which is so phenomenal that we just talked about as well, but also too, I mean, you got a busy business. I mean, you are like full tilt, as they would say, like you are pedal down. And then you go out and you say, I want more education as a business, as a business owner. And you enrolled into a program, right? And got selected into a leadership program for a while?
For the SBA, yes. Yep. So I graduated. Woo!
Yes.
I actually have the trophy to prove it. No. It was through the Small Business Association, and it's the program is called Thrive. And it really takes you out and it breaks it down step by step. Like, it starts with, all right, let's look at your leadership style. Let's start with you. And then you look at business planning, strategic planning, and it literally breaks down each component of your business. So it gives you an exercise every month to focus on, all right, it's like a mini MBA, I would say, for your business. But it was just really helpful to commiserate with other people that know what it feels like.
Yes.
Because there's times that I'm assuming it's the same with you. You feel like you're on this little island in the middle of nowhere.
There should be a support group.
There should be.
Actually, we call it the Rock Coast Entrepreneurs.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. It is. I thought we should have one for recovering bankers too.
This is okay. Well, there's always hope. Yes.
So it's nice to talk with people who understand the employment challenges, the HR challenges, regulatory, legal, new programs that the state has put in place, and just to have that somebody who you can just call and be like, oh my goodness, you'll never believe this, and they know what it feels like.
Sure.
A lady I go to church with, her and her husband own a mechanic shop, and it's the same, like, she's just my person, when I talk about stuff, because it's like, she's been in business a lot longer than I have, and it's just very much like okay, yep, I understand, get back, talk you back from the ledge, like don't jump. So
That's awesome.
It's about finding those people too that you can just call and say, I want to rip my hair out and everybody around me. So
what are you most proud of over the last couple of years?
that I have not given up.
Okay.
It sounds kind of crazy, but
It is not easy running a business.
it is not easy. It is not for the faint of heart. And I think had I known what I know now, would I have even bought the business? I'm not sure.
I think you would have. I think you would have. You like a challenge.
I do. And some days you feel like, what's the point?
Right.
But then you get a great customer call or something, somebody has said something, you're like, oh, I didn't know that I had that impact. Great, okay. And it kind of fills your tank again and until you go on empty again. And then you go refill and then, yeah.
So, real quick, what's one word that your employees would use to describe you?
Oh boy. Fair.
Perfect.
I would say fair.
Okay. So important to be
Yeah.
fair, right? Put yourselves in their shoes for sure.
Exactly.
All right, everyone. My favorite part of the segment, the entire thing, and that is rapid fire. This is how we wrap up our show.
Right.
All right. So this is where
I think so.
I go right in and I give you the question. You got to give me a response.
Okay.
Early bird or night owl?
Early bird.
Favorite Maine restaurant?
Oh my goodness. Seasons in Bangor because they have the nachos to die for. I could bathe in that barbecue sauce. It's amazing.
Most underrated part of restoration work?
Most underrated?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, pass. I'm
I'm going to tell you
blanking.
right now.
You can't pass?
I can answer it for you.
Okay, please.
You're compassionate.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. I like that. We'll
Yeah.
go with that one.
All right. Cleaning playlist. What's your must-have on your playlist? Because I know you got to put some tunes on, right?
80s metal.
Oh, yes. All right. Favorite band?
Def Leppard.
All right. How many times did you see them?
Twice.
All right. Poop scooping, gloves or grabbers?
Grabbers. And gloves.
Dogs or spreadsheets?
Dogs.
Yes.
I love dogs.
One thing you always will keep in your car?
Probably 15 of these mugs.
All right. The
Because
Yeti for the win.
Yeah.
All right. Best leadership advice you've ever received?
Don't take it personally. So hard to do.
Yeah. One word that describes SRS.
Clean.
Good response. One thing you'd tell your younger self.
Don't be afraid.
Awesome. Well, I would just say is that, today we've learned a lot about, superior restoration services, more than what we had touched on the first episode. And unfortunately, everyone that's viewing us, I didn't have a camera for the first one. We just hit record.
Yeah.
And I actually forgot to record like the first 2 minutes of it. Okay. And boy, haven't we come a long ways.
Yes.
But I would love for people to learn more about how they can, meet you, or learn more about Superior Restoration Services. So if you don't mind sharing
Well,
that.
we'll be at the Community Expo. We'll have a booth there, so please feel free to stop by, get some swag, which reminds me I need to order some more swag. We're SRS Maine, MAINE.com. Ben Bruno of Innovative Graphic Design is in the process of updating our website, so
That's
that's
good,
good.
man.
Ben is fantastic.
Also a member of the Rock Coast
Exactly.
Entrepreneurs. Yes.
And I am trying like a son of a gun to get better at social media. It is a work in progress. So
It is.
yeah.
We actually have a couple more minutes.
Okay.
So, how does someone learn about how to do social media, because hiring someone to do your social media is a really, really expensive thing. It's really hard to even understand the impact of your money.
Exactly.
Yeah. So how did you learn, or how are you learning?
So part of when we did Thrive, that was a big part of like the sales and marketing,
Yes.
but also social media, digital media. And it was funny because the lady that was talking, she's like, well, I usually have about 6 months worth of content in the queue. I'm like, I don't have 6 minutes of content in the queue, so I'm going to try to work on that. And I think we had actually talked about this in our group, that it's pick one and just start posting.
Yeah.
And just don't overthink it, and don't, because I think a lot of times people are like, well, what's your digital, what's your social media strategy?
Yeah.
And I get it, like you should have one, but at the same time, sometimes it's just, you just need to start.
Yeah. And what they say is like on business networks like LinkedIn, they say to post mostly personal about you as the owner. And they say on social media, they say to post more about the business, like Facebook, Instagram, because often people already know a lot about us, because for some particular reason we love to share every moment of our life.
Yeah.
Guilty. But because we're excited, right? That's our generation. We're like, let's just share for everyone.
Yes.
And our poor kids. Because that entire journey is all documented.
Yes.
And everybody will see those baby pictures for sure.
And it's not the camcorder, as it was when we were.
Right. That can only be seen on, funniest home videos.
Yes.
Or in your personal collection. But the world sees everything.
Yeah.
Awesome. But yes, thank you, Nicole. Nicole Larrabee with Superior Restoration Services. Just an amazing guest. I'm so glad that you came back.
Thanks for having me.
She is the Vice President of the Rock Coast Entrepreneurs. I'm just going to take a couple minutes just to call to action, because the Rock Coast Entrepreneurs, along with the Camden Area Business Group, also known as CABG, CABG, they don't like that. So Camden Area Business Group, Rockland Main Street Incorporated, the three organizations came together. We've invited other business groups. I think other business groups are going to start joining this. When the Penn Bay Chamber closed last year, heartbroken.
Yeah. It's a tough loss.
It was really important for us to all come together and create the community collaboration. So we called it Penobscot Bay Community Collaboration. And the whole mission is to bridge the gaps left, and that is the connection of our business community.
Yeah.
And the question is, does our region even need a Chamber of Commerce? And that breaks my heart to even ask that question. But one thing is really important is staying connected.
Yeah.
And so the first thing that we decided, and we talked about this at the Rock Coast Entrepreneurs, how important it was to bring back those engagements, to be able to bring back our community, not just for businesses, but nonprofits as well, be able to share their mission, what they're doing, but also inviting the community back in. So number one was, let's re-envision the expo.
Yeah.
And so the Penn Bay Showcase and Job Fair, and that's the name of the organization, or the name of the event, for April 23rd from 2 to 7 p.m. That replaces the old expo that was facilitated for a long time by the Chamber. Chamber could fill that thing in a matter of weeks because it was so popular.
Yeah.
But I would just say is that this is not a organization, this is a collaboration. So getting the word out has been a challenge, even with our local media partners not participating, because we need to pay to promote. And this is not a promotion, this is a collaboration, bringing people together. So thank you very much for signing up a booth.
Thank you.
We posted today on our Facebook page the list. Right now we have over 40, and it's growing, a couple per day. We only have about a week and a half left worth of time for you to be able to sign up, but RDA will be there, the Rock Coast Entrepreneurs, because we are part of that organization. So we'll have a really nice presence there. Community Business Group will have a nice presence there. Same thing with Rockland Main Street. So to our listeners and viewers statewide, in the past, this was only for members of the Chamber. This is wide open.
Yeah.
We want obviously we want to showcase Knox County, but our surrounding areas would be awesome. But listen, let's bring in the state. So if you're viewing this now, sign up. It's cheap and it's worth every single dime because you connect with so many people. It's not just about sitting at your booth. Right. It's about getting out there and connecting. So thank you very much for signing up. I look forward to seeing you there. Thank you to our listeners. I would just say we continue to really grow. Last week, we had Dark Harbor Barber Company on. He crushed it in just a matter of days. And I know this is going to do the same exact thing. Please share our Facebook page, share today's show. Follow us on Instagram. We do have an Instagram, as well as we have this radio station that's wonderful as well. WRFR. Can't say enough about this great nonprofit. Listen, support them because a very less than $400, and you could absolutely support this radio station so we can get the word out for what we're doing today. So thank you again to everyone. Like and share. Go into our YouTube channel. Like and share that. Like and subscribe. I wish I could have Harper in here, my daughter.
She would need.
Oh yeah, she's got the perfect intro. We're working on it, Harper. All right, all right, guys. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you next Tuesday. Have a wonderful day. Thank you.
Thank you.